A major update in a shocking and difficult murder case. All 8 suspects in the Mahogany Jackson killing will now face the death penalty.
The Birmingham Police Department announces 7 arrests have been made in the Mahogany Jackson homicide investigation. And this is undoubtedly one of the most heinous acts I've seen in my career. It's absolutely disgusting.
But did you not stay on that phone though? Y'all got the fight. When I was like, damn shit, when you say I come out and get back, oh yeah, bitch, I'm on that till they fought. You supposed to jump. Did they come out? No, I said no.
I would just simply tell Mahogany that I love her, and we miss her so much. You know, I wrote down so many things that I would say to her, but mainly I would just hug her really, really tight.
Let me tell you who Mahogany was, because before she became a headline, she was somebody's daughter, somebody's mama, somebody's friend. Mahogany Jackson, born April 29th, 2003. 20 years old when she died. And she had a 3-year-old daughter named Nydia. That little girl was Mahogany's entire world. Her mother, Gail Maddox, said Mahogany's favorite color was pink. And she was always doing her baby's hair, styling it, experimenting with different looks. She had actually decided to go to cosmetology school to become a professional stylist. Here's what a lot of people don't know. Mahogany had graduated from Job Corps. She wasn't just talking about getting her life together. She'd already completed a program. She was actively working on building something better for herself and Nydia. And in December 2023, just 2 months before all this happened, Mahogany sent her mama a text that said, "I'm 20, and I'm ready to get my life in order." She meant that. People close to her said she was distancing herself from certain friends, from a lifestyle that wasn't going anywhere productive. She was getting closer to her cousins, the same cousins who would later search for her all night when she went missing. She was looking for stable work, really trying to be the mother Nydia needed. But here's the thing about changing your life when you're young. Not everybody's happy to see you grow. Some people take it personal when you start doing better than them. And Mahogany? She was still connected to some folks from her past. People she thought she could trust. 8 people specifically. Brandon Pope, 24. The man whose ego was made of wet tissue paper. Francis Ace Harris, 25. Giving yourself a nickname in your 20s is already a red flag. Jeremiah Kodak McDowell, only 18. Blair Green, 26. Then 4 women. Tasia Lewis, 26. Sinaya McCall, 23. Giovanni Clapp, 24. And Ariana Robinson, 23. And ladies, we need to talk about this because society loves to give women passes. Loves to say, oh, she was scared or she was influenced. These were grown women who made choices. Now, here's what led to February 24th, 2024. There was a gun involved. According to Detective Mark Green, Mahogany had taken a gun from someone earlier. Then someone stole that same gun back from her, along with money from her purse. And Mahogany wasn't the type to let that slide. She tracked the gun to Brandon Pope, showed up at his apartment ready to get back what belonged to her. Because she wasn't playing games, she came strapped. February 24th, 2024. Mahogany walks into Brandon Pope's apartment with a gun, demanding he return her property. When Brandon can't produce what she's looking for, Mahogany makes him prove he doesn't have it. Made him strip down to his boxers, right there, while his boys watched. Now look, I'm not here to debate tactical decisions, but let's be real about what happened. Brandon Pope felt humiliated. His manhood felt threatened. His street credo was in the toilet. Brandon Pope's ego couldn't handle it. So he looked at his crew and said 4 words that sealed Mahogany's fate. Do something to her. Not let her leave. Not we'll handle this later. Nope. Do something to her. And you know what's wild? Not one of those 7 other people said no. Not one of them walked away. Not one of them said, this is too far. Instead, they said, bet. What came next was 30 hours that I'm going to tell you about. But I need you to understand something first. These people filmed it. Multiple videos, 8 videos total. They really looked at torture and thought, you know what this needs? A documentary. The sheer stupidity, the absolute lack of survival instincts. These are the same people who probably post their crimes on Facebook and then act shocked when police show up. Everything I'm about to tell you is based on Detective Mark Green's testimony in court, describing what he saw in those videos. The attack started at Brandon Pope's apartment on Macmillan Avenue. According to Detective Green's testimony, they punched her, kicked her, spit on her, stomped on her while she was on the ground. Then they stripped her naked and dragged her outside into the street by her hair. In the videos, you can hear one of them yelling, "Pop the trunk!" They put Mahogany in the trunk of a car and drove her to a second location, the Serenity Apartments, where Tasia Lewis and Sinea McCall were roommates. Now let me be clear about what happened at that apartment. Detective Green testified under oath about what he saw in those videos. Mahogany was sexually assaulted at gunpoint. She was forced to perform oral sex on Blair Green while other suspects held guns to her head, telling her she better do it right or she'd be shot. While that was happening, another suspect penetrated her from behind. She was handcuffed. She was beaten with fists and with a baseball bat they found nearby. She was pistol whipped. She was spit on repeatedly. And during all of this, some of the suspects were on FaceTime calling other people, asking if they wanted to come over and get theirs. Detective Green testified to something else that tells you just how terrified Mahogany was. At some point during the assault, she had a bowel movement on the floor. Her body's involuntary response to the level of fear she was experiencing. The state's attorney said in court, "The fact that the victim defecated on herself speaks to her level of knowledge of what is about to happen to her, which was she was not going to leave ever, and she was going to die." Mahogany knew. In those moments, she understood what was coming, but she wasn't ready to give up. February 25th, 2024, 7:46 in the morning. After more than 24 hours of being held captive, beaten, violated, moved from location to location, Mahogany saw one chance. Her captors let their guard down for just a moment. She grabbed her phone and typed out a message to her mother. "I'm being held hostage in apartment 3. Don't call. Send the police. Hurry." She hit send and included her location. Serenity Apartments. Back home, Gail Maddox was out of town, on her way to pick up her son from the Georgia airport. When that text came through and she read those words, her entire world stopped. Because if you knew Mahogany, you knew she was not the type to ask for help. She was strong, independent, the kind of young woman who handled her own problems. But for her to send a message like that, her mama knew something was terribly wrong. Gail immediately called 911. She called her niece to help. She refused to go home, even when officers suggested it. Mahogany's father, Moses Jackson Jr., rushed to Serenity Apartments and threatened to break down the door if police didn't get a warrant fast enough. Family members, those cousins Mahogany had just gotten close to, searched for her themselves all night. Birmingham police rushed to Serenity Apartments. They ran up to apartment 3, ready to rescue a young mother fighting for her life. When they finally got inside, it was empty. There was nobody there. The suspects had already moved her, stayed one step ahead. But here's where it gets even worse. The suspects found out what Mahogany had done. They discovered she'd sent that text. According to Detective Green's testimony, one of them checked her phone and saw the message to her family, saw that she'd shared her location and called for help. They forced Mahogany to give them her phone password. Probably told her the same lie they'd been telling her all along. Cooperate and we'll let you go. Give us what we want and this will be over. And Mahogany, desperate to survive, desperate to get back to her 3-year-old daughter, gave them the password. That's when Frances Harris, according to testimony, looked at the others and said she ain't going nowhere. The text that was supposed to save her life had just guaranteed her death. Everything changed after they found that text message. These weren't just people trying to teach Mahogany a lesson anymore. She'd called the police. She'd sent her location. In their minds, Mahogany had become a liability, so the group made a decision. They loaded her into Frances Harris's car. Harris was driving. Brandon Pope and Jeremiah McDowell were with him. According to court testimony, they told Mahogany they were taking her to clean out Harris's car. Some defense attorneys later claimed Harris told Mahogany he was taking her home. But that was never the plan. They drove to a location in West Birmingham, an illegal dump site on 17th Street Southwest and Laurel Avenue. The kind of place people go to throw away things they don't want anyone to find. Locals had a name for it. Dead Man's Road. When they got there, Mahogany was probably still holding on to hope. She'd survived more than 30 hours of torture. She'd given them everything they asked for. She'd cooperated. Maybe, just maybe, they'd keep their word this time. Maybe she'd actually get to go home, hold her daughter, see her mum again. But Frances Ace Harris had other plans. According to testimony from Detective Mark Green, and based on statements from the suspects themselves, Harris raised his gun and shot Mahogany Jackson in the back of her head. One shot. Execution style. 20 years old. A mother. A daughter. A young woman who'd just been trying to get her life together, who texted her mama 2 months earlier saying she was ready to change, who dreamed of becoming a cosmetologist. Gone. But they didn't just leave her there. They tried to hide what they'd done. They covered her body with old mattresses and debris from the dump site, treating her like trash. Like she didn't matter. Like she was something to be disposed of and forgotten. For hours, Mahogany's body lay there, in that isolated spot, while her family desperately searched. Her mother still hoping police would find her alive. Her 3-year-old daughter waiting for her mama to come home. And the 8 people responsible? They went about their lives like nothing happened. February 26th, 2024. Around 2:19 in the morning. A witness walking through the area noticed something that didn't belong. When they moved the mattresses aside, they found Mahogany's body. Birmingham police arrived on scene. They observed the victim lying on the side of the road, unresponsive, suffering from an apparent gunshot wound to the back of the head. Birmingham Fire and Rescue pronounced her deceased. What started as a missing persons case had now become a homicide investigation. But here's what those 8 people didn't count on. They filmed everything, made videos, even FaceTimed other people. And once you make a video of something, no matter how much of a secret you want it to be, there's a high chance other people might see it. The footage started circulating. People in Birmingham saw what happened to Mahogany. They saw who was involved. They saw faces they recognized. And unlike so many cases where people stay silent, where nobody wants to snitch, Birmingham said not this time. Tips started flooding into the police department. People came forward with information. A witness who had copies of some of the videos walked into the station to clear his own name and handed over evidence. Within 48 hours of finding Mahogany's body, Birmingham police had identified and arrested 7 suspects. The 8th, Ariana Robinson, was arrested shortly after. Think about that for a second. In a city where so many murders go unsolved, where witnesses refuse to talk, this case was solved in 2 days.
All 8 suspects in the Mahogany Jackson killing will now face the death penalty.
Birmingham Police Chief Scott Thurman stood at a press conference on February 28, 2024, and you could hear the emotion in his voice. This is a man who'd been in law enforcement for years, who'd worked homicide, who'd seen terrible things. But even he was shaken by what happened to Mahogany Jackson.
The Birmingham Police Department announces 7 arrests have been made in the Mahogany Jackson homicide investigation. On Sunday, February 25th, 2024, the Birmingham Police Department officers began investigating the missing persons case of 20-year-old Mahogany Jackson. Mahogany sent a text message to a family member that she had been kidnapped. Early the following day, officers and detectives discovered Mahogany's body in the 1700 block of Laurel Avenue. Investigators determined that she had been shot. With assistance from the community, detectives were not only able to locate Mahogany Jackson's body, but detectives took 7 suspects responsible for Mahogany's murder into custody within 48 hours of this investigation. On Wednesday, February 28, 2024, detectives were able to obtain arrest warrants for the following suspects. Giovanni Clapp, black female, 23 years of age. She is charged with felony murder, kidnapping 1st degree, sodomy 1st degree, and assault 2nd with injury. Blair Green, black male, 25 years of age of Birmingham, is charged with felony murder, kidnapping 1st degree, and sodomy 1st degree. Tasia Lewis, black female, 25 years of age of Birmingham, is charged with felony murder, assault 2nd, injury with a weapon. Francis Harris, black male, 25 years of age of Birmingham, Alabama, is charged with capital murder, sodomy 1st degree, and capital murder and kidnapping 1st. Sanaya McCall, black female, 23 years of age of Bessemer, Alabama, is charged with felony murder, kidnapping 1st, and sodomy 1st. Jeremiah McDowell, black male, 18 years of age of Bessemer, Alabama, is charged with capital murder, sodomy 1st, and capital murder with kidnapping 1st. Brandon Pope, black male, 24 years of age of Birmingham, Alabama, is charged with capital murder, kidnapping 1st, and capital murder with sodomy 1st. The facts of this case are deplorable and sickening. Saddest of all, they were made public by the suspect's decision to videotape portions of this horrific act. We hope to shield Mahogany's family and friends by withholding specific facts surrounding the investigation. However, we have determined that Mahogany was a victim of sexual assault with murder and kidnapping. Recently, Mayor Randall Woodfin and the Birmingham Police Department have urged the public assistance to help the Birmingham Police Department investigate violent acts such as these described in this case. In Birmingham, you answered the call. It's hurtful to know that 7 individuals could participate in such vile acts, but this case highlights the strength and the effectiveness of the partnership between the Birmingham Police Department and our community, as 7 suspects are now behind the bars and will soon be in custody of the Jefferson County Jail with no bond. And I'll tell you, as many of you know, I served a number of years in the homicide unit, and this is undoubtedly one of the most heinous acts I've seen in my career. It's absolutely disgusting.
All 8 of them were charged. Initially, some got felony murder charges. But in September 2024, a grand jury looked at all the evidence, those videos, the testimony, everything, and said no. Charges were upgraded across the board. Every single one of them got hit with capital murder. The state of Alabama is seeking the death penalty for all 8 defendants. Now, some of them tried to fight it. Brandon Pope's attorneys argued he didn't participate in the physical assault. The judge denied bond. Ariana Robinson's defense team tried to paint her as just a witness, someone who showed up after and wasn't really involved. The judge wasn't buying it. Bond denied. One by one, their attorneys tried, and one by one, they were told the same thing. You're charged with capital murder. You're not going anywhere, because whether you threw a punch, whether you held the gun, whether you drove the car, whether you just stood there and watched, you were part of this. And under Alabama law, that makes you just as guilty. Let me tell you about the defense attorney's audacity, though. Some of them really stood in court and tried to claim their clients just offered to take Mahogany home, or weren't really involved. The nerve, the absolute gall to stand there and say that when there's video evidence of what happened. Her mama, Gail Maddox, said it best. She was full of life, she loved people. And sometimes she just loved the wrong people. That was her biggest problem, was just loving the wrong people. When Brandon Pope gave that command, when he said, do something to her, not one of those 7 other people said no. Not one walked away. That's not friendship. That's not even human. The impact of Mahogany's death goes far beyond her immediate family. Her daughter Nidia was only 3 years old. That little girl is growing up without her mama. And here's something a lot of people don't know. Gail had already lost one daughter before this. Mahogany's sister, Sequoia, had died before. This mother buried 2 daughters. In an interview, Gail said,
It's rough. Every time I come here, I have a horrible night before, and I'm going to have a horrible day when I leave here today.
That's what haunts her. The fact that somebody could have stopped this at any point during those 30 hours. On February 29th, 2024, about 100 people gathered outside Serenity Apartments, the place where Mahogany sent that desperate text to her mama. They came with pink balloons and candles. Family, friends, even strangers who were moved by this case. And a year later, on the anniversary of her death, Gail and the family gathered again. They wrote what Gail called love notes on pink balloons and released them into the sky. Gail said if she could talk to Mahogany one more time, she'd just hug her really, really tight and tell her how much I love her. Here's the thing though. People weren't just mourning. They were angry. And rightfully so, because you know what else happened? Those torture videos started circulating online. People were sharing them on social media. Some for entertainment value, according to DA Carr. The DA and Mahogany's family had to beg people to stop sharing the videos. Can you imagine? Your daughter is murdered, and then people are passing around footage of her worst moments, like it's content. What does that say about us? What does it say when someone's trauma becomes entertainment? But Birmingham also showed up when it mattered. Chief Thurman specifically cited the Mahogany Jackson case when discussing witness cooperation. He said this case is proof that when communities speak up, justice happens fast. Mahogany Jackson did everything right in those final moments. She sent the text. She gave her location. She asked for help. She fought to survive for over 30 hours. She was smart. She was strong. But sometimes being smart and being strong isn't enough when you're surrounded by evil. Her story is a warning about choosing your circle carefully, about knowing when to walk away, about understanding that some battles aren't worth fighting, about recognizing that the people you think are your friends might be your biggest threat. But her story is also a testament to her strength. Because even in her final hours, even after everything they put her through, Mahogany fought. She sent that text. She shared her location. She tried to save herself, and even though she didn't make it, even though we lost her, her actions helped catch every single person responsible. The text she sent, the evidence she provided, the fact that she fought. That's why all 8 of them are sitting in jail right now, facing capital murder charges. Mahogany Jackson was not just a victim. She was a warrior. And her family, her daughter, her community, they're making sure she's remembered that way. 20 years old, a mother, a daughter who loved pink and had dreams of doing hair. A young woman who texted her mama saying she was ready to get her life in order. Gone too soon, but not forgotten. Rest in peace, Mahogany. Your life mattered, and your story matters.